have no choice. We have that burning desire in our hearts to always succeed. Well, I graduated from commercial diving school. I worked on oil platforms around the world, and I ended up being homesick and wanted to work in my own country, in South Africa. And when I got to South Africa, I was told there was no work for me. But yet, around the waterfront, I'd meet colleagues who were asking me how I did certain jobs in the North Sea or in Southeast Asia. They don't know how to do the job. And I wondered, what's wrong with this picture? Why are companies hiring incompetent people when I have the skills to do this job and I can't get it? Then it became very obvious. It was not about skills. It was about the color of my skin. This was still apartheid South Africa. And as I could not get work in the oil industry in South Africa, the only work I could find was mining diamonds on the ocean floor. A job that some say was beneath me. But there are no jobs beneath any one of us. We will step up to the plate and do what we must. And yes, ladies, a diamond is a woman's best friend. Every diamond we found, I got a percentage for the ship, for each diver. And I saved that money because I knew the cost of this yacht, of wearing the jacket. And when I divided how much I was saving into the cost of the yacht, I realized I'd be about 69, 70 years of age before I could afford it, before inflation. We all get to work within budgets. And not always do we have the resources to do what we want to do. So we have to go back to the drawing board and modify. As I could not buy a new boat, could not have one built for me, I decided to go to public libraries and find every book I could find on naval architecture so that I could design and then build the boat myself. And people looked at me and said, you are no designer, you are no naval architect, you are no boat builder, give up. But I would not give up. We must be willing to look into the windows of the future. We must have a vision, and we must be willing to seek the knowledge to make that vision our reality. It's up to each and every one of us as individuals and as leaders. The knowledge I gained from books, I began transforming from a blank page to working drawings. I would go to boat yards to buy surplus tools, surplus materials. And then I tried to find a loan, a marine mortgage for the boat. Now I remember going to a banker, and before I could explain to him how to repay this loan, the man shuts his portfolio and he says, you black, what do you know about the sea and boats? Get out of here. It was a sad time, but I stayed working, I stayed dreaming, I stayed committed to the vision. And I asked people who could help, who was out there who had those skills. And then they told me, yeah, there was this crazy Dutch guy. They call him the Mad Dutchman. He dreams of building a boat, but he's got no customers. And I thought, aha, there's a dreamer, a man who wants to do something, who has barriers. Let's partner. If he could help me and I could help him, we both win. Who do you partner with? Who are you going to win with in this industry? And we don't have all the answers. So we must find those folks who can help and collaborate to get to those answers. And little by little, we ended up building this boat in our shipyard. And folks would come and visit our shipyard and they'd look at this boat and say, gee, guys, are you ever going to launch this piece of junk? And I said, of course we're going to. They said, do you think it'll float? I said, of course, it's a boat, it will float. And eventually, we wheeled the boat out of the boatyard. I put on my sailing jacket, and I climbed on board and we launched my 38-foot yacht. It was a proud moment when that boat floated, and on the same dock where my boat was a beautiful 100-foot factory-built yacht. A machine, to call it for a better word. And that yacht belonged to the banker and a hotelier who threw me out of his office. And they said how embarrassing it was to be on the same dock. And so I stood tall one day and I said, sir, is your boat fully paid for? Because mine is. We must never allow people to put glass ceilings above us, to say what we can and cannot achieve based on their perspective, who've never walked in our shoes. Walk in somebody's shoes before you criticize. You'll find it does not fit. And so I ended up making the decision to enter the transatlantic race, the O-Star race. I wanted to become the 4th South African to ever do that race. And when I made the announcement, the media showed up. And the media said to me, The previous 3 South Africans had been naval officers. And I said, well, I never joined the Navy, I'm no officer. So they said each one was given the national yacht of the country. I had my home-built boat, not the national flagship. They said each one had sponsorship from the country. My pockets were empty. Each person from the old school had been given a support crew from the Navy. And I looked behind and there was nobody behind me. There was no support crew. And hence, the front page of the sports section, Peterson sails floating coffin. The attitude was, I was going to kill myself in this boat. I could not do this. How many times have you come up with technology ideas that nobody can quite understand and see? And they said, that'll never work. But you believe in what you're doing. And you know you'll find a way to make it your reality. Because you do not believe in failure. You believe in proving that you are right to dream. And so I decided to bid my family goodbye. And with the last of my pennies, I bought a few things and said goodbye. You see, there was a thing called GPS, satellite technology. I could not afford any of it. So I bought 500-year-old technology, a sextant. People like Magellan and Ernest Shackleton had used this to find their way across oceans. And I bought a book, Celestial Navigation for Yachtsmen. Don't ask me where I was for the first 7 to 10 days. I was lost. I was busy reading this book, trying to figure out how to use this device. CTOs, we all have questions and don't have all the answers. But through the network of people, we can find the answers. It is all about collaboration, cooperation, and staying focused on the dream. But life will always test you. Here I am in the middle of the ocean, nobody to talk to, my radio can only reach to the horizon, looking to see, is there somebody out there? When the boom, which carries the mainsail, came flopping across the deck like a golf club and a golf ball and made perfect contact with my forehead and split open my forehead, I was gushing blood. I was in deep trouble. I did not have the resources to buy the technology like a distress beacon, where I could flip a switch to say this boat in this location is in trouble, send help. I did not even have the money for a medical kit on my boat. All I thought I had on board my boat was this rusty sailing needle and sailing twine. Could you stitch your forehead back together with this rusty needle and sailing twine? Could you? Nah, nor could I. So I had a big barrier. But if I was to survive, I had to find a solution. Then I remembered in science, if you apply pressure to a bleeding wound, the bleeding will stop. If you can hold the wound together for long enough, the wound will grow back together again. Apply pressure, hold together. Apply pressure, hold together. And with that, I came up with my solution. A clothes peg. I sailed 800 miles like this to go and see the doctor, the nearest doctor. The doctor said, son, the wound is fine, but you need psychiatric help. Again, ladies and gentlemen, what symbols do you have that reminds you of how far you have come to be here in Beijing, to achieve the things that you've achieved against the odds? I did not make England that year. I ended up in Ireland. And in Ireland, the people who took my boat, and they don't see my floating coffin or my piece of junk, they were remarked, they saw how far I had come without all the equipment, without all the fancy tools. And they are dreamers as well, the Irish, and they helped me. And when people help you, we say thank you. But thank you is not enough. I went into all the public schools in the country, in Ireland, and I spoke to the children about the power of a dream and the application of knowledge in the realization of those dreams. It is your responsibility to educate our young communities. It is all our responsibilities. And in India, you have become one of the most progressive countries in education. You have some of the most fantastic schools in your country in technology, IIT, and so many other organizations. You are one of the leaders. Continue to foster that education, because that education that the young children of India are getting will make your country one of the greatest leaders in this industry and in any potential industry. And we must remember our roots and our history. Gandhi, your Prime Minister of time gone by, was educated in South Africa. And here was a man who had a fantastic education and believed in passive resistance and became the most powerful man on this planet. He moved mountains.